Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Chat with Nat. I hope you are doing well. Conversations with Nat. I'm telling you, things align for a reason. I met this wonderful woman on Facebook, of all places. She posted something wonderful on a Facebook mom group, actually. I think there's over 11,000 people on this group. And I said, why not? So I sent her a message and we connected. I think it was last week, right, Heather? And we had a hour
Yeah.
long conversation about stuff. And Heather has stepped into a new role after being in corporate for many, many, many years. I would love you to tell everybody who you are and what you do and what magic are you making happen in the world?
I don't know about magic, but I'm
It
hoping to
is.
have a little impact on the world. So thanks, Nat, for having me, and it's honestly a pleasure to meet you. So I'm Heather Goldsmith, and I will take you back and give you a little context of where I came from. I'm a graduate from McGill from the management program, and I always thought that my passion was going to be human resources. I always found myself to be a little bit high on emotional intelligence. And really, when I carved out my vision for my life, it was to be in human resources because I had actually taught the course organizational behavior for 2 semesters at McGill, which at the time was outstanding that you had a course counselor that was a student. Um, and that really kind of allowed me to kind of learn how much I loved connecting and presenting to people. But at the career fair at McGill, there was a company that approached me and told me that they thought I would be an amazing fit for their type A ambitious, personality type. And it turned out they were right. I spent almost 30 years under this corporate umbrella doing different,
Wow.
roles. And I parted ways with them a couple of years ago and um, needed to reacquaint myself with myself. I needed to come up with a new identity for me. Like, who am I outside of this corporation? And so
Mm.
I took some time to kind of figure out what was next for me. And it turned out that what I was really passionate about and what I absolutely loved was the mentoring, the leading, and the coaching. And so one weekend, inspired by my 3 kids, I decided to focus my efforts on launching a company called Campus to Career. And what that is a company that is customized and specialized for our students and young professionals that are navigating, what do I do after school? Or I'm in school and I just had a summer job. How do I story tell that on a resume and position myself for what I want to achieve in my life? And I really feel that my experience, and although it took me 30 years to come to that realization, and I loved the 30 years that I spent at this company, and I loved the people and who I became and the skill set. But if I had had a career coach at that time, maybe I would have actually pursued a career in human resources or something of a mentoring and a coaching um, profession. But
Yeah.
I just followed the money, or I followed what I thought was what made sense.
Well, I think, and back then, probably just like me, you were told to, you go to college, you go to university, you get a job, and you have and you do these what I call the societal norms that what the they cloud tell us. But I think the connection I have with you too is that our children are what inspire us to do these things. And for me, 10 years ago, well, now it's more than 10 years ago that I had my daughter, I just knew I had to get out of that corporate rat race because I grew up at home with a mom and I really wanted that for her and for us too, to know that there was a parent present. So I stepped into that role, and that's when I started my business at called Master Your Authentic Voice, and I started working with professionals in really honing their speaking skills, but soon realized that I was not even shown this in high school. I wasn't even shown how to do this. And that's why I created Teen Talk, which is public speaking for teens and young professionals. So I've worked with from 12 to 25, and it just like you get lit up by that. I get lit up by just knowing that they can be better communicators, even if it's just one small step or one small thing. And most of the time, the aha moments come very quickly. And they don't know that they need it now. And I've met students like 5 years after I've taught them, and they remember these odd little details. So I think that you're probably where you're supposed to be right now. Does that make
And
sense?
it does. And it's so funny that you say that, because in the 30 years that I was under this corporation, I spoke a lot and I interacted with so many different people. And really, what surprised me is people, like, even a few weeks ago, I ran into an old colleague at the company and she said, I was having lunch with somebody from the company, and your name came up. And she said, I'll always remember when Heather spoke and gave a presentation, and it was 20 years ago. And I'm thinking, I've spoken so much, and maybe I'm a little more opinionated than I should be, but I had a lot of impact, and it took me a while to be proud of that and to own that.
Mm. Oh,
And
yes.
yeah, and I'm loving this space. I'm loving coaching, which, by the way, is very different from leading and mentoring and being a director. Um,
Hmm.
and it's terrific to kind of challenge yourself. I'm not going to age myself for your listeners, but whatever age they think I am, to be able to step out of my comfort zone midway through life and to do something completely different and just challenge yourself and let yourself learn. It's so
Yeah,
empowering.
it is absolutely. And I don't think it's about aging ourselves. Listen, I wasn't what I when I give a talk and I speak about, this business and how I started it. And I say I was a mature mom when I had my daughter. And I had some students, I'm going to say probably about 2 years ago, I'm telling the story about how I had my daughter at 41, and they know her because she went to the same school. So you saw all the faces light up when they figured out how old I actually was because they did the math. They were like, Miss Natalie, you're not that old. And I said, well, I am that age. Like, it is what it is. And they couldn't believe it. And I think that part of what I do is my spirit is so young because I connect with young people all the time. And I try and be at their level to a certain extent
Hmm.
about things and be relatable, because that's how the connection comes so quickly. So don't be afraid of age. It's not an age thing, but it's an experience thing. It really is an experience thing. And I do believe that there's a reason for everything. And you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing now 30 years ago because you wouldn't have had all of this. So I'm curious, and I'm sure there's other people that are curious. Like, what is it? Like, what are the top three highlights for you that you help young professionals or people coming out of school do?
So, really, the first thing is, if anyone, any student or even young adult or adult is sitting there thinking that they're stuck, they're
Yeah.
overwhelmed, they don't know how to move forward. And frankly, because of my journey and because of how I've pivoted careers, maybe once or twice, I bring a lot of empathy. I bring no judgment to that space and really
Mm-hmm.
just want to help people develop an action plan for themselves if they need to go from today to the future. And so it's really a coaching element, and it really can be adaptable to any topic. But also, because I spend 30 years on the hiring side, what I also bring to students is a pathway forward. I could help someone with their resume. I can help someone story tell who they are. I've created LinkedIn accounts for young professionals who want to network. I'm working with a couple of students who want to pursue a very specific career path like consulting, which requires
Yeah.
students to learn how to coffee chat and how to network. I'm helping a young, bright mind do a personal project that'll help her stand out. Um, so, really, as a coach, I'm a partner. I can be the partner for you wherever you want to go, as long as the client is responsible for their own action plan and remains accountable to the action plan. But I'm a partner, so take me wherever you want to go, and we will
Yeah.
adapt our kind of questions to whatever your journey is.
I love that. And I think that part of the challenge that young people have now is that these skills are not necessarily taught. Networking is something that I've done for many, many years because of the jobs I've had. So it became innate that I just do it.
Hmm.
But I remember going to a private school teaching in Montreal and asking the students, do you know how to talk about yourself?
Hmm.
And nobody put their hand up. And I looked at the teacher and I said, well, that's a problem. And knowing how to highlight, and you were just saying before we started recording, um, being humble and talking about you are and being proud of all these things, that's part of the journey. It's part of knowing like who you are as a person, what you bring to the table, and it could be the smallest thing, but it's about how you position it, how you talk about it, how you showcase your transferable skills. That's a big
Yeah.
one that I've talked to students about before. So giving them the skills, and I think I did a couple of reels this week or last week where this is a reality that a talk competency or a networking could be part of. Now I know a talk competency is part of curriculum in most schools or most school boards, but they're not taught the skills, and that's
Hmm.
that's where I come in, right? But I love what you're doing because I think there's a lot of students can benefit from having a path. I had a path. I feel like I had a path when I left high school because I knew I wanted to work with kids. I knew what program I had to apply to. I did all the things, but I feel fortunate that that was because a lot of people, if we take Quebec as the example, you have to go to CEGEP. So they take like a social program. I don't know if that's still how it works, but,
Hmm.
and I don't want to say it's a wasted 2 years, but what are you doing in those 2 years? You're figuring out what the next step is, but you could already be on some kind of path.
And it's funny because I had a student reach out to me yesterday, and the student is looking to pursue a path in finance, and really they're not coming to me to explain to them what paths are open to finance, but they're coming to me to see if I can help them match themselves to what finance paths are out there. And so I don't
Mm,
need to be a financial expert, but I just
no.
need to be able to have a conversation with someone and get them to realize what are your strengths, what really matters to you. And it's really just, being curious and asking questions that will really try and help the person dig deeper into their subconscious. And that's why it's so exciting because there's really no script. It's really just having a conversation and allowing the person and myself to kind of just flush out what it is that you've been thinking, then you say it, and then how you feel when you hear yourself say it. And
Yeah.
you talked about that aha moment. It's so gratifying when someone sits there and realizes, ah,
Oh. Ding, ding, ding.
it's terrific.
Um, I just forgot my idea. Do you feel like, I mean, you might be seeing it more. I approach a subject, I talk about it when I teach sometimes that communication, there's so many levels of communication. And now young people have much more access to technology than we ever did when we were
Hmm.
their age. Do you feel like the technology is impeding their ability to showcase who they are or to communicate, effectively
Um,
in
so
a
part, mm, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, no, but in a more of like that community, like old school communication, which is like talking and networking and that kind of thing.
Um, so initially, my first thought was I'm not sure technology impedes um, their communication skills, but I do find that part of what I want to bring to the community in any community is workshops on the proper use of AI. And so
Mm,
one of the workshops that I'm giving at the end of August, um, it's about actually the topic is about giving and receiving feedback. And part of what I'm addressing to these university students is don't be afraid of AI, and employers want you to use AI, but this is how. I want you to use AI as your thought partner. I don't want you to lazy think about an answer and just use AI and throw the answer in an email. But how do you use AI as a thought partner? So I'm not sure that it impedes it, but I think it can enhance somebody, maybe their
Yeah.
understanding, maybe how to communicate without tone, how to communicate on the proper level of the person who's receiving your message. Um, but I do find that it impedes, like one of the students that I'm working with, um, she went to a career fair and got all these great contacts and all these business cards for people that could really kind of catapult her career to communicating with these fantastic companies. And she's busy texting and emailing. And I'm thinking, no, no, no. You need to put yourself and have these coffee chats face to face or on the phone.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not words on a page. And
Yes.
actually, you know, um, I'm putting myself in the coach shoes because I had the opportunity to meet somebody that I've been dying to meet for the last few months. And she gave me the opportunity to meet with her on Zoom or drive into the city and have a face to face meeting. And although it would have been so much easier to have the meeting on Zoom, I drove there to meet her face to face because that is so much more powerful than having a technology meeting on Zoom. And so I think people have to choose responsibly when it makes sense to use technology, but don't use technology as the lazy way out. There's still so much
Absolutely.
value in face to face.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I did a reel this week that said it, I'm amazed at that how, somebody can type 200 words a minute, but can't make a 30-second phone call.
Yeah.
And and I think too the message for me, it's always like you can resolve so much more by picking up the phone. I drive my friends crazy because I'm the caller in any friendship. So I will call you before, I text,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Nat," I'm like, I'd rather just can we just solve this like this? And then that way it's done. But the same with clients, it's to get them to understand, and people really do want to communicate. I think that we've just become a little bit lazy about it. It's just so
Hmm.
much easier to send a text, and it's so
Yeah.
much easier to, I'm a big fan of voice clipping, because the voice clipping you will hear the tone and the emotion in my voice when I'm telling you the
Yeah.
thing. Whereas when we text, we don't you don't see or feel. And then that's when the misinterpretation comes up
Yeah.
all the time. No, there's no doubt about it. And I have a young teenager, and she's not allowed to use emojis, or um,
Mm.
she can't shorten anything. Like, she can't do
Abbreviate. Yeah.
IDK.
Yeah.
She doesn't abbreviate. We don't do that. She's like, "Why?" I said, "Because the words matter." And I said, "You can do that with your friends, but not with me."
Mm.
I said, "I want full words and sentences." And, so it's frustrating because I know she thinks that she knows better, but deep down, I know that I'm teaching her a better way
Yeah.
to communicate. Okay. So what is the one thing that lights you up in what you do? Like that, like for me, like I said to you before, oh, I got goosebumps. Like, what is the goosebump moment?
Um, wow, one moment.
It doesn't mean a moment, but what is it that when you work with clients, like that moment that you're like, oh, yes, this is why I do what I do.
I think it's kind of what I said before. It's that aha moment. And I have, since I'm in the building stages and I'm building with intention, I have a handful of clients. And I also am doing peer to peer coaching as I'm working towards my ICF certification of my ACC levels. And so, I think the goosebump moment for me is becoming the coach that I've always wanted to be. And so
Mm,
for me, it's when I have those aha moments in a peer to peer coaching session. And then the goosebump moment with my clients is when you see them and everything kind of makes sense. I was working with a client, and she was explaining to me that she always feels that she's a light switch. She's either on and off. And I get that, right? And people like go until they can't go anymore. And that's kind of like me, like the roadrunner. Sometimes you're speeding through. And then we were kind of, talking about the fact that light switches have dimmers, and sometimes you can dim it. You're not an on off, but you can kind of play with that. And it was a simple metaphor, which often is used in coaching. And she just sat there and she was like, wow,
Yeah.
that gave me goosebumps. A simple metaphor
Yeah.
in a coaching session.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's value in that session. I know that one of the things I was telling, I'm doing a train the trainer with a future Team Talk trainer, somebody who wants to, grab this and teach the skill. And I said, sometimes as a coach, you feel like you need to be doing all the time, like you need to be filling in all these gaps. And I realized soon in my teaching career that I don't have to be talking for 60 minutes straight. I can let the students absorb, practice, create, and then we come back. And often in a tutoring session, I give them 10 minutes of work to do with me so that the work is being done and I can see it in action right away, as opposed to go home, go figure it out. And then when we meet again, and when we do it together, that's where the transformation happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pretty much automatically, because they have their aha moments, the light bulbs go off and they see what is possible. And I think that's what I wanted to ask you was, do you have students or clients that come to you like, I don't want to say despair, but they feel like there's like no way out, or they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's parents. Parents message me saying, I have a child who's, how this old, they're really shy, they're this or that. I want them to do this. And the first question I ask a parent is, do they know that you're talking to me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't, the student doesn't have, I don't have their buy-in, it's not going to work. And I've had clients like that where the parents sign them up, they pay the money, and they pay good money. Like I charge what I charge, but and then the student shows up and they're like, and that's hard when a student doesn't want to be coached.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough. And, explaining to a parent who wants this for their child, um, but the child is just not engaged, is a tough one.
Yeah, and it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because last night I had an old colleague reach out to me and said that she wants me to meet with her son and to coach her son. And my first question, and it's so great that you mentioned that, Nat, too, because as a new business owner, my first question was, does your son know you're talking to me? And is he open to this type of coaching? And she said, yes, he's sitting beside me right now as I'm having this conversation. And I thought that's very important, because you're
Yeah.
right. Like, you know, um, and I've coached some of my friends' sons, and I always say to everybody, it is very confidential. What you share with your parent is your choice. But this is like, this is coaching ethics 101. Like, everything that you say here is confidential and there's no judgment. But if the
Yeah.
student, and I haven't had a client yet that didn't want to be there. So I'm very fortunate that I've been, it was mentioned to me very early on, make sure you have the buy-in of the student before, because you may find yourself in a session where there's no buy-in. I
Yeah.
was coaching a student a few weeks ago, and he had that aha moment 30 minutes into our session. And he's like, do you mind if we just end the session right here? Because I'm so motivated. I just want to go and start this right now. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. It's not about me. If you're so motivated that you want to end the session early, see you later. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great feeling. That's
yeah,
a
it
good thing.
was.
Okay. So, what do you have going on this summer for folks who are listening, who want to get in touch with you, who are curious about what you are doing and how they can be supported? Because I'm going to assume that a lot of your clients, yes, young professionals probably come your way, parents come your way. What do you have going on this summer, or how can they reach you to
Um,
learn more?
So they can go on my website, campus2career.ca. Certainly follow me on Instagram. I have only 261 followers.
No, we're not doing the only. We have, and
Oh,
we will have more.
I have 261 followers and it inches up every day.
Yeah,
And so you can follow me on campus2career.co, or you can just email me at heather@campus2career.ca. What I'm going on this summer is I have a few clients that I'm working with, and I'm really kind of helping. Right now, my focus is with university students because they plan so far ahead.
yeah,
What I'm also looking to do is partner with companies like yourself, Nat, who support, a student journey throughout the year. Tutoring companies, if you're a parent and your child, so this is kind of where my focus has been on the last week. If you're a parent and you have, and by the way, two of my three kids have had tutors, and why I love that is because two of the three kids learn on a one-on-one fashion, and we've
yeah.
always made time and made the money investment to work with kids that require a different type of learning. But sometimes when your kid and your child is being tutored, they also need to be coached. And so, what I'm really passionate about is helping tutoring companies and tutors and parents understand that coaching can be a complementary service to tutoring. So, it's not just about learning the material, but it's learning to have the confidence and the clarity. So, what happens if you have a tutor that you've hired for your child in like macro or microeconomics and they don't do
Yeah.
well in that exam? The child is then internalizing some emotions and self-doubt and insecurity. Well, coaching could really help the child to kind of understand that you're not going to succeed in every exam
Mm-hmm.
or every paper that you write. So how can we build up your child with the confidence to where they can have tutoring and
Nice.
coaching at the same time? um, and really, if anytime your child needs something, like I want to improve myself, I want to connect at a I want to do an interview session, or I want a LinkedIn profile, or I want to understand what my options are, I'm so confused, I like this, but what career path
Yeah,
will that lead to me?
yeah. I
Reach
love it.
out
I
to
love
me.
it. On my end, creating I am creating a September sprint package. So 4 sessions, offered at a lower price point for parents. That's probably more attainable than, a longer um package that I have, a flex package that I do. So that I'm going to be putting that out this week, just for parents to know that, their kids can be ready for September, if they have that little. And for me, 4 sessions is a minimum, because there's core things that I like to cover and make sure that they feel prepared and all that. So I'm going to be putting that out in the next couple days. Stay tuned for that. Any last words of wisdom, nuggets that you would like to drop?
um Nuggets of wisdom. um I think that the best wisdom that I can impart are people may and students or early professionals under
Mm,
position themselves. And so your people have the experience, but they just may not have the expertise on how to position their qualities. And sometimes all it takes is a little tweak or a little shift in mindset, and you can open up some
oh
different
my,
doors and
that's a lot of
possibilities.
wisdom and nuggets. All I was going to say was, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. I
Oh, I
listen
love
it
that.
every day. I'm like, Natalie, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing. So choose differently. So I choose to get up every morning and work out, and I choose to have my coffee outside. So change. If you know that if something's not working for you, find a way to change it,
Yeah.
because I wish I'd known that so many years ago. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm
And I have
listening.
one more actually. One of my favorite ones is, and someone said this to me in a tougher time of my life, but
Nope.
tough times don't
Yes.
last,
Oh my
tough
God,
people
that's
do.
so good. Thank you. I got goosebumps. Thank you.
I
Miss
love it.
Heather, we are going to drop all of your contact info into the YouTube description to make sure everybody can find you and find me, of course. Whatever you choose to do, I hope you have an incredible day. Thank you for listening. This has been Chat with Nat or Conversations with Nat. I have to decide on the title. Um, but I love it when it rhymes. So, hey, whatever you choose to do, have an incredible day. And we'll see you soon in the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks, Heather.